All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 266 of the 815 Exchange. And well, we are here. It is finally here. College football and the NFL. It is football season. So we have a football-packed episode. I'm not even going to lie to you. All right, a whole lot of football we talking about today. Very excited about that. We've got week one. It's already been very, very interesting upon the time I'm filming this, and we still got the bottom half of the slate here on Sunday to go. And of course, it was an interesting week in college football. I'm not gonna lie, Fraud Watch is starting. I'm seeing some candidates. All right, I'm seeing some candidates. Some of y'all got exposed this week. All right. But there was also a lot of beatdowns. So we're going to discuss that. That's going to kick us off as always. U.S. Open, Alcaraz 3 is going on. So I gotta hurry up so I can get back to watching that. It's looking like cinema as expected right now. We got to talk about Sabalenka, of course, and everything going on there. Zilisch can't stop winning. And of course, we've got Terrence Bud Crawford versus Canelo on the horizon next week. So yes, plenty to talk about here at episode 266. I'm very excited for this one. As always, remember to like, share, subscribe if you guys enjoying the content. And as always, everything you're looking for in this life can be found in my description. Literally everything. Everything you're looking for. Social media. Outro also in the description. Timestamps. This is long form content. And these football based episodes, as y'all know, if you've been around, do get lengthy. Alright, so if you want to skip ahead, you just want to hear me talk about the NFL, CFB, you want to get past this intro, whatever it is, alright, you can skip ahead. Timestamps are embedded in the video, also in the description. But without further ado, CFB. Alright, college football. Let's talk about it. Week deuce. We're going to start off with El Assico. I'm going to say it. Hopefully that doesn't get me demanded YouTube, because that's literally the name of the rivalry, El Assico. Iowa State versus Iowa. All right, we have seen some absolutely diabolical games come out of this rivalry. Oftentimes close, oftentimes maybe a little bit of controversy, but some absolutely diabolical games have come out of El Assico over the years. This is, again, one of those, with some of the narratives that can be spewed out of this. Matt Campbell, as I said last week, and as I will continue to say, and as I've said over my course of doing this show, loves to win these absolute sicko games. All right? He is a sicko game specialist, which in some ways makes him perfect for El Assico. Because once again, Iowa State wins an absolute sickening, version of this rivalry, 16-13. Kyle Conradi, who had a really good game, by the way, for a kicker. A very, very good game. Had 54-yarder here to get the go-ahead, and the Iowa State defense, as they did all game, was able to hold on. But this really just brings me here. Even though I want to get this off the way, Rocco, again, is a dog. We said it last week. I'll say it again here again. He's a dog. If nothing else, Rocco Becht is an absolute dog. McDonough had a period of this game where he just completely took over. It felt like he had 2 sacks on the day. He was great. The Iowa State, the Cyclone defense was great. But Iowa has developed a reputation under Kirk Ferentz for a reason. For a reason. And even though his son is gone, and even though they went and got Mark Gronowski, let me read off here. Over 10,000 passing yards going into this season. All right, he had over 10,000 at South Dakota State. He won the Natty twice. 2 FCS national championships. He won the Heisman Trophy equivalent for the FCS once. This is not supposed to be some bum quarterback. Iowa was supposed to have a quarterback, an offense this year, and it's week 2, and it looks like they've broken this man. What is Kirk Ferentz? What does he have against the forward pass? I mean, I get it. Kirk has done incredible things with this Iowa program. He has been the foundation of it for over 2 decades. He's a legend. He's a legend in Iowa. But it's time. As we say nowadays, and I'm going to say it right now to Kirk Ferentz, and a lot of Hawkeye fans are with me on this one at this point, you got to leave the game before the game leaves you. And it feels like after watching Saturday, well and truly, the game has left Kirk Ferentz. It's time to hang up the headsets, my brother. It is time. It is over for you. Y'all are plateauing on a plateau, which shouldn't be possible. But the Iowa Hawkeyes, once again, make the impossible impossible, and they've done it yet here again. Okay, because this team, this program has plateaued, and it will only fall off from here. So please hang it up. All right, hang it up. Iowa State continues to run the show there. They win Al Assico. That was in the other interstate battle, all right, we had this week. That was very, very close and decided by 3 points. Yes, Baylor and SMU was an absolute banger. We had two overtime games I'm going to talk about that were absolute bangers. This was the first one, and it was heat. All right, it was absolute heat. But SMU has to be kicking themselves because they had this game in the bag. Up 14 with 8 minutes to go. Just scored all the momentum in the world with 8 minutes to go in this football game. They were up by 14 points and they choked. Straight up. No other way to put it. They choked. SMU choked this game away. We go to 2 overtimes. Missed the field goal. Gives the opportunity here. Baylor gets it done. Sawyer Robertson. Get used to it because I feel like I might be saying his name on a more regular basis from this point on. 34 for 50 in this game, 440 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'm going to be honest. All right, I'm going to get this off about this quarterback class. I don't want to rank anybody as like the top quarterback. I'm not doing that for a minute because I feel like this is one of those seasons where somebody's just going to emerge and that's going to be your top quarterback because all these guys that were listed as the guy, they don't got it. I'm sorry. They don't got it. So I think somebody's going to rise, and it might be Sawyer. It might just be Sawyer Robinson. He has been cooking so far this season, and he cooked here against SMU. Josh Cameron feasted off of that. He had 9 receptions, 151, and 2 touchdowns. Ash Hawkins as well, 10 receptions, 145. Kobe Pretense also had 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, just a stat sheet stuffing day for the Baylor Bears. But, yeah, Robertson was on one. KJ had a good day, though. Don't get it messed up. All right, KJ had a good day for SMU. 395, 3 touchdowns. Did have that 1 interception. And Romello Brinson had 4 receptions, 126, and 2 touchdowns. They feasted early. All right, they looked really, really good early. Had control, had command of this game. People were looking at Aranda, kind of crazy. I saw a few fire on Twitter, but that's normal. But then that second half and really in that fourth quarter, they just crumbled. SMU just crumbled. Baylor kept applying pressure. Sawyer was Sawyer. And the Baylor Bears, all right, go into SMU and get the win here in the interstate Texas battle between 2 of their top private schools, 48-45 in that. Banger, all right? Banger. Mississippi State and Arizona State, also a banger, but it was absolute misery for Arizona State. How do you give up that 58-yarder to Brennan Thompson with 30 seconds to go? To lose this game, by the way. How do you give that up? The one thing in that situation, is don't give up the deep pass. Don't give up the big play. Don't let them get in field goal range. And especially, God forbid, safety, corner, don't let the receiver get by you and score a touchdown. And what happened? He runs, I think it was a post. A touchdown. Yard, sticks. Beat the defender. That can't happen. That just cannot happen. It happened here, and it was pandemonium. They stole both goalposts. It was absolute scenes. Blake Shapen had a game, 279, 3 touchdowns. Wasn't super efficient, but when it mattered, he got the plays done, so credit where credit's due to Shapen. Arizona State, the pros, they ran for 251 yards in this game. The cons, Sam Levet does not look like Sam Levet from last year where people were talking again as maybe he's a guy. He didn't look like a guy really at all this season through the first 2 games, but especially not here. 2 interceptions in this game for Sam. He was rust. I don't know if it's rust. I don't know if he's just not that guy. I don't know if Scat was protecting him. You still got Jordan Tyson, who is still very much so one of the best receivers in America, but Sam Levet does not look anywhere near like one of the best quarterbacks in the country, which is what he was supposed to be this year. So Arizona State, Dilly, got to figure that out. But yeah, bliss for the Bulldogs. All right, bliss for the Bulldogs. Florida, it's gonna get worse. It's Florida Gator fans. I know a couple of y'all watch this. All right, you might want to skip ahead here because it's not gonna be a good one. All right, Saturday was a rough one. It was a rough one. Woo! South Florida might be real. All right, they might be real. They go into the swamp and take it over, 18-16. They hit a game-winning field goal from like the 8, I guess technically 18 yards, but from the goal line, easy pickings. And that's it. Florida, where do we even start? Okay? From Brendan Bett following up Jalen Carter, which we'll talk about during the NFL segment with the spit take. From that to DJ Lagway regressing in real time. All of those commercials, all of the hype about, oh, Lagway might be one, and watching him literally regress in the middle of a game was wow. That was something. All right, that was something, especially when Byron Brown on the other side of the ball, who, again, not the best thrower of the ball. It is what it is. He's a hell of an athlete, though. 328 yards total and a touchdown. He was over there handling business, doing what he had to do to get South Florida to win this game. And DJ Lagway was over here throwing overthrows and picks. It was ugly. It was an ugly contrast. All right, for what was supposed to be one of the almost gimme games for Florida, who have one of the hardest strength of schedules in the country this year. What was supposed to be their last, like, all right, we handle business, knock out South Florida, then we get into the, Hell's Gates. No, they couldn't handle it. And it's been a reoccurring theme over Billy Napier's, time here in Florida, time in Gainesville. He just does not appear to be the guy, the answer at head coach for them. He just doesn't, all right? So, Florida has a decision. They got a very, very big decision coming up because this is not the loss you want to take going into the part of the schedule they're about to go into. So it could get wicked. All right, it could get really, really wicked for Billy and the Gators, but we will see. All right, we will see. OU, this was the headlining matchup of the week. All right, OU versus Michigan. Bryce Underwood, number 1 overall recruit in last year's class, the now starting quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines. Now going into his first true test, all right, as starting quarterback. Not his first game, but his first true test on the road in Norman against Brent Venables, who is known to be one of the great defensive minds in the country. How would he fare? And honestly, Bryce, statistically, if you look at the box score, you're like, eh. And I'm going to be honest, he had his moments where he was, but you know what? It's there. You can see the talent. All right, Underwood is going to be good as long as he stays on this developmental path. However, Brent Venables definitely was like, I'm facing a freshman quarterback. I don't care how good he's supposed to be. I'm Brent Venables. I need to remind these people I am Brent Venables. And he did that. All right, this Oklahoma defense came to play. They absolutely came to play in this game. All right, they were giving Sharon Moore and Bryce the business. Okay, they were giving them the business. Besides that, Justice Haynes breakaway, like 70-yarder, Michigan's offense was consistently stalling out, and it was just great scheming. It was great play calling. All right, they had an answer for everything Michigan tried to throw at them. So I commend Venables and co in that OU defense for showing up big time. All right, John Mateer, of course, is taking the headlines. 344, 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception, but Mateer, he's a guy. Okay, if you didn't know, he was very good last year at Wazoo. Transfers over here to Oklahoma. He becomes a god, if you don't know, on CFB 26. And you're seeing why. All right, you're seeing why. He looked like one of the best quarterbacks in America, which is what he's supposed to be. But he looked very, very good. All right, very, very good against Michigan. Wasn't perfect. I'm not, again, throwing any labels on him. Not quite yet. But it was a good performance. It was a good performance against a really good opponent. So, credit to Mateer, OU as a quarterback, OU as a defense. Maybe Oklahoma is back. We will have to see. Second overtime and last game I'm going to feature here, and it was one of the last ones to finish. Michigan State and Boston College. By the way, this was a great home-and-home series that produced 2 great games. This one, however, is a Game of the Year candidate. All right, Michigan State and Boston College went band for band. You know it's serious. If I'm talking about 2 ranked teams as one of the feature games, that's how you know it was a good game. All right, you had Aiden Childs on one hand going for what? Over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. You had Dylan Longren on the other hand going, 390, 4 touchdowns as well. Just going band for band. It was a all-time quarterback duel in Michigan State. It was a treat to watch. All right, and that boy Nick Marsh is bad. That boy is bad. Mike Jack. All right, 2 TDs. He needs to be in that conversation. All right, Ryan Williams is now in exile. So with that, there's a new position open alongside, Cam Coleman also needs to show up besides just his raw talent. But, besides JJ up there, Nick Marsh, we can insert him in the conversations. I'm just saying he has all of his tools and he's also producing. Okay. But Sparty gets it done here against the Eagles. Again, great back and forth. All right, literally just again, hit for hit. It was like a classic heavyweight matchup. All those stereotypes. I mean, they went band for band. All right, all game long. It was great. Overtime, BC unfortunately gets stopped. Michigan State Childs lost it in the air. Gorgeous. It was pretty to watch it fall down. And it was even prettier if you're a Sparty fan because they get the win here, like I said, 42-40 in an absolute game of the year candidate. And yeah, Childs showed a lot of development in this game. We'll see what he's got cooking. All right, he might be something. He might be something. Like I said, no labels on quarterbacks this week, but he might be something. We know Nick Marsh is definitely something. And Longren, honestly, for about BC, he was looking very good. Might be their best quarterback they've had since that guy Tommy Football, who we're about to talk about very briefly, because him and Florida State put 77 on, was it East Texas A&M that they slaughtered or absolute bombed? Ohio State put belt to ass. Oregon put belt to ass. Florida State put belt to ass. Alabama. These were all everybody that scored at least 69. Nice. And up. Tennessee also put 70 on the board. Yeah, this was the week. Week one, people like to think of as that's the week where, they're playing the cupcakes. But really, week one is where we get some featured matchups now to kick off the season. And then week two is like everybody, we're going to pay somebody so we can just whoop that. And that's what happened. That's what happened. All right, that's what happened. A lot of get back if you're Bama. But yeah, all right, a lot of belt. A lot of belt this week. We did have two teams that I didn't feature, but I could have featured these games. They would have been very pretty. All right, it would have been very pretty for you too. But you did survive. All right, so we will talk about you. Clemson and Troy did survive. Okay, did survive. It was ugly and it was delayed as there was a lot of rain and storms going on here in the Southeast. But Clemson does survive Troy in one of the ugliest games I can remember Clemson playing. Same thing for Ole Miss. All right, Austin Simmons was horrible, but somehow, some way, Kentucky decided to take, defeat from the jaws of victory, as Mark Stoops loves to do in SEC play. Nobody like it. All right, nobody like it. Don't know why they keep you around. All right, because you have one solid win on the road every now and then. And you've brought them to semi-relevance. But besides that, you have definitely put a ceiling on this team because I don't know how you lost this game. I'm going to be honest. I was astonished to come back and see that they lost this game. I had to go back and look and see how exactly they lost this game because it didn't make any sense. But yeah, Ole Miss survives, Clemson survives, but it was ugly. All right, it was very, very, very ugly. My two faves, let's talk about them. All right, USC, fight on. Cooked on Clay Helton and Georgia Southern. That was great. Jacoby Lane, I love you. You wear my favorite number. You were worthy of it. What a catch. All right, one of the catches of the year. Him and Makai Lemon, one of the best wide receiver duos in the country. My Via's looking good. The offense looked good. Defense was a little shaky at times, but, I am mad at it. Get an actual test against Purdue next week. Charlotte could have beat Carolina. I'm not even going to hold you. But, Bill Belichick, I went to this game. Bill got his first win. But I'm not going to lie to you. That offense is very one-dimensional in my opinion. It's very predictable. Defense showed up, but I was more on our offense just not being able to get anything and just not take advantage of opportunities that we had to win this game. All right, because I'm not going to lie. Carolina did not do what they were supposed to do against Charlotte, and I think that is a very big indictment on the North Carolina and what their future might hold for the rest of this season. However, Charlotte. All right, we're building the stadium. Maybe one of these days will be good again. But, Alex Smith was hooping today. We'll talk about that later, though. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the U.S. Open. All right, Sincaraz 3. Plus, we got to talk about Sabs. All right, and Amanda. But the U.S. Open is getting its own segment today, all right? Because it was that good. I can't lie to you. It was that good, okay? But yeah, Sincaraz 3, the two best players in the world, the two best players of their generation, all right? This was winner takes all. Not just the U.S. Open, but also number one in the world was on the line. They are now tied on majors, at least before today's results. So, it was really a pivotal moment in their beginning stages here of the rivalry as it's starting to hit its stride. It was also the 8th straight time, ladies and gentlemen, that a major championship would be won by either Alcaraz or Sinner. So, how would it go down? Well, listen, I don't know if it was the shaved head. I don't know if it's because Alcaraz is dead and gone. I don't know what it was, all right? But Carlitos had one of the greatest runs in major history, and certainly, in my opinion, the best run he's ever had at a major, in my opinion, at one of the Grand Slam events. And he gets it done in 4, takes out Sinner. He drops his first set of the entire tournament in the second because they always have to split. You know how it goes. All right, this is not our first Sincaraz. But after that, he nearly bagels Jannik in the third and then gets it done in the fourth after Sinner fights off 3 championship points. But he ends up with an ace. That serve was a difference maker throughout the tournament, but especially here in the championship. Sinner's serve, on the other hand, wasn't as great. I think it was in the 27. I think it was around 27%, while Carlos was at like 72. That's a huge, huge, huge difference. And it's something that Carlos was never really a bad server, but it's something he was not like a serve bot, or he wasn't considered this great elite server, but he really he flipped the switch. He flipped the switch. Like I said, I don't know if the shaping of the head, the aerodynamics changed or what it was. Maybe it's the strength because he went sleeveless and had the guns out. I don't know what it was. All right, but Carlitos, his serve just helped take him to a different level. That, and I think with his focus, he was just locked in. He was locked in. He didn't let any kind of moment, any kind of lull, because those happen. It happens throughout, even in the most dominant of matches, right? You'll have those moments where you might lose a point here or there. He did not let that get down to him. He didn't let that get to him emotionally. He just stayed focused. He stayed focused, and he didn't have those dips that allow Sinner to take advantage and really, hammer home those sets and get those wins as we've seen in past times. He didn't let that happen. He did not let that happen in this championship. He didn't let that happen throughout this tournament. So yeah, this is a new level of Carlos. A new level of Carlos, and it'll be interesting to see how Sinner responds and how he rises to the occasion. But yeah, again, they've put on an absolute treat for all of us tennis fans throughout this entire, again, season's far from done, and this probably not even the last of Syncraz this season, or this year, should I say. But they put on a hell of a run here in 2025 at the Grand Slam events. Of course, Jannik winning the Aussie, which was the only time they didn't match up in the final. Then Carlos strikes back at the French, but then Sinner gets his first Wemby. And then here at the U.S. Open in New York, Carlos gets the #1 ranking back and takes the U.S. Open crown for the second straight time. Very satisfying, by the way. 2 at Roland Garros, 2 at Wimbledon, 2 in the U.S. Open. Very nice. Got to get that Australian, though. That's going to be tough. But yeah, Carlos just needs that Australian to cap it off. But yeah, what a treat. What a treat to watch them. All right, there was some absolutely beautiful tennis. Even from Jannik, even though it wasn't his best match, some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tennis. They're the 2 best in the world, 2 best of the generation, and yeah, I feel lucky to get to watch them and see them make history. But yeah, for now, Carlitos, like I told y'all, he can get to a different level not everybody else can get to, and he is back on top. He gets his 6th Grand Slam title. Now, Arena, come on down, all right? We need a 4th. All right, it'd be a 4th different woman to win a Grand Slam or a major title this year, and that is exactly what happened. All right, Sabs gets it done. It's really nobody surprised. She was on a rampage. She just would not be denied in this tournament. All right, similar to how Carlos was just locked in, like razor like lined in, focused. It felt like Arena was just like, yeah, I'm not losing. I'm not losing this tournament. And even though Amanda got, some vengeance against Iga after Iga put a mercy killing on her at Wimbledon, she gets some revenge here in the semifinals, makes it to the final, performs better in this final than she did in Wimbledon, but nonetheless, Arena still gets it done in straights. Again, yeah, #1 player in the world for a reason. She showed it here at the U.S. Open, and credit's due to the Tigress. She's back on top. All right, it would have felt kind of weird for her to have had the season that she's had and to have not gotten one of them. So she does get it here at the U.S. Open, but yeah, great event. Always a pleasure. Always one of my favorites, just because the environment, the atmosphere of the U.S. Open in New York is always crazy. Had a couple friends that got to go. That is definitely on my bucket list of things to do and events to make it out to. But yeah, it was a good one. Carlitos, though, back on top. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Entertainment. All right, I don't know why there was a big dramatic pause there. All right. Shows. What did I watch this week? I didn't get to watch The Peacemaker. Too much stuff was going on. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't watch Peacemaker, the new episode. I have been up to date with the show I love and hate. Honestly, The Summer I Turned Pretty. Everybody hates Jeremiah right now, and honestly, he hasn't been very likable in this season. Not gonna hold you. He hasn't been very likable, honestly. But I'm gonna be contrarian here. His crash out right now is semi justified. I'm gonna be honest. It was semi justified. If my brother, my literal blood man's, did me that dirty, took the love of my life from under my nose like that, I would feel a type of. I feel like he's entitled to crash out on people. All right, I'm not gonna lie. So I will say that. However, it's just blatantly honest that Connie and Belly are obviously in game. Interested to see what she does in Paris. I'm assuming the boy's gonna fly out there. All right, because that just it feels like a classic romance thing to do. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a show that's everybody's mind. So credit to Jenny Han and Co for cooking up something over there in Amazon. The other show that everybody was talking about this week for various, controversial reasons, ICEMAN episode 3, all right, which was very great. Cinematically speaking, was very good. The music was hit or miss. I'm not gonna lie to you, even as a Jersey fan. The music this time was a little hit or miss. All right, it felt a little too like he was trying to do, which is, I guess, a very weird thing to say. He was trying to do too much in a way. I felt like the songs were trying to, the ones he previewed, felt like it was trying to do too much. All right, it was too much with the beat switch. Like, I want him to go into a pocket and just cook. That's all he needs to do. I almost feel like he needs to simplify it in a way for ICEMAN. Still, of course, do what you do. You're Drizzy. You're gonna bring something new to the table. Do that, but still do it in your pocket. You know what I mean? Do it in your pocket. I want to see you get back in your bag. He was trying stuff. You did that a lot before all the dogs, and that's why it was a little, close to that like 7-ish range. I think I gave it here on this show. But we'll see. All right, but it wasn't like the end of the world. He keeps playing these absolutely hard-ass beats at the end of these episodes or throughout, like, as the transitions, and I'm like, I need that. I don't know if he's holding that, because he didn't drop any of the songs, by the way, that were previewed, and there was a lot of them. He didn't drop any of them after the episode like he did the previous two. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be on there. I don't know what the deal is, but that'll be interesting. But yeah, highly controversial episode 3. But yeah, still engaging. Longest episode yet, though. All right, longest episode yet. Justin Bieber dropped Swag 2 to make Swag as a whole almost 3 hours. And I'm not going to lie. Swag 2 got long. All right, it got very, very long because JB was essentially doing the same thing. All right, the same thing on this deluxe for a lot of these. But he's so good. His voice is so, so good that you could honestly listen to JB harmonize for a little bit and you'd be satisfied. So for the first part of this, I was good. And then as time wore on, I was like, I'm getting bored. I got bored during Swag 2. I have to say it, unfortunately. Sorry, JB Beebs. I love you. But it got a little boring. It got a little boring. It was one-dimensional. I felt like the deluxe was very one-dimensional. A lot of the things were the same. All right, we get it. You love your wife. You want to croon about loving your wife. You love God. It's a beautiful thing. I love God. I love the Lord. It's the Lord's day currently. But my brother, please do something different. All right, I just wanted something different on Swag 2, and it wasn't there. All right, it was not there. So the song with Tim's though was fire. All right, if I had to have like a favorite, that and All the Way, I think were my 2 favorites. So Swag 2, I don't think he really missed anything, to be honest. I don't know if it was really necessary, to be real with you. Young Doug is crashing out. He's crashing out. That's the only way to put it. Doug is crashing out. Somehow every single conversation he had in prison has been leaked over the past 5 days. So that's been interesting to see the fallout of him literally crashing out on everybody and now crashing out publicly. So that's going on. But yeah, you can go investigate that for yourself. I'm not going to get too deep in that because I'm just kind of tired of seeing it. But yeah, that's what's going on in that case. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. It is time. It is time. It has been too long. It has been far, far too long without it. It is the NFL. Yes, it is the NFL. I almost shed a tear just now. Almost shed a tear. We started off on Thursday, and I'm not going to lie, I'm spiteful, as if you didn't know. All right, if you didn't know, I'm very spiteful, very vengeful person. So I was very, very, very excited. I was looking forward to the Eagles beating the brakes off of the Dallas Cowboys, which is very, like, Chris, you're a Cowboys fan. How could you? I needed Jerry Jones to feel the pain that he is implied and placed upon the fandom this offseason. But unfortunately, the Cowboys were half decent in this game. All right, we were unfortunately half fake decent in this game, and it went down relatively to the wire. Honestly, I wouldn't even say relative. It went down to the wire. It's just that our all-world wide receiver forgot how to catch. Of all of the people who could let me down on this team, at the very bottom of that list would probably be CeeDee Lamb. And well, what a surprise for week one, first game. CeeDee Lamb lets me down. I didn't want to get hope, but I got hope. All right. Dak put it on the money. Who played a great game, by the way. All right. Dak played a very, very good game. He only had 188 yards, but he played a very, very good game, including, of course, most prominently, rage baiting with one of the best rage bait moments of the year, rage baiting Jalen Carter into getting kicked out on the first play of the game. Incredible stuff. Absolute cinema, okay, from Dak Prescott. But, all right, he puts it right on the breadbasket, and CD just bounces off his chest. He drops it for what could have been the TD to take the lead and win this game. And then we get it again. Need to convert here. And again, it was a little bit overthrown. It would have been a tough catch, but we're paying CD a lot of money, okay? We're paying him a lot of money because he's one of the best receivers on the planet. You want him to make those catches when it hits his hands like that, and it was a tough catch. So I'm not mad at this one, but that last one, that one hurt too. All right, it wasn't a good look after he had a great first half, but then after that break, just the way he just was not the same player. I don't know if he lost focus or what it was, but that was kind of that. Saquon was held in check. All right. Jalen Hurts was the leading rusher in this game. He was also the best offensive weapon in this game for the Eagles. But yeah, he was the best they had here. Saquon only had 60 yards in this game. He did score, but only 60. You'll take that. All right, you'll take that against the guy that was voted the best player in the league. Hurts had over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. It was a classic Jalen Hurts game. He showed up. All right, he showed up. Like I said, Dak played well. Needed CD to come through with some of those, but honestly, I'm not mad. All right, as a Cowboys fan, not mad because I thought it was going to be a lot worse. All right, I thought this game was going to go a lot worse for us, but it didn't. All right, so we'll take it. Small victories, I suppose. Small victories. Let's go to Sao Paulo. All right, we'll go to Sao Paulo with every celebrity that is Brazilian or Colombian or just in South America in existence seemingly at this game. The Chargers took on the Chiefs here in week one with the Chiefs. All right. The face team, I guess, quote unquote, the Banner Boys, even though they won the Super Bowl last year, but the most popular team probably worldwide currently in the league, thanks to a certain man named Travis Kelce and another guy named Patrick Mahomes. Well, how would this era that appears to be closing, how would it go today or Saturday? How would it go? Jay Herbo. Jay Herbo was dating Madison Beer, and listen, if I'm dating Madison Beer, I would ball out the way Justin Herbert did in this game. 25 for 34, 318 and 3 touchdowns. The boy was cooking. Quentin Johnston had a good game. That's how you know it was serious. That's how you know it was serious. QJ had a good game? Oh, my days. Yeah, the Madison Beer effect is real. All right, and you see I gave Justin Herbert his nickname back. That's how you know Justin Herbert balled out when I'm calling him Jay Herbo again. But yeah, Jay Herbo was on that. All right, he was on that. Pat wasn't bad, but the Chiefs felt a little dysfunctional. All right, they felt a little dysfunctional. It's felt like this for a while. They barely held on through one of the craziest regular seasons last year to make it to with the Super Bowl. But this felt like, again, another continuation of that kind of dysfunction I'm feeling in KC. It feels like that time, that window, it's closing. And they are all kind of realizing that time is running up. Obviously, widely expected to be Kelsey's last year. He runs into Xavier Worthy on the first possession, separates his shoulder, dislocates it. So Worthy's out for a while. There's a certain former Chiefs wide receiver that's very disgruntled, and we're going to talk about what happened with the team he's on. That might be a good, answer to that equation right there. But we'll see what happens. All right, we'll see what happens. But for now, Jay Herbo, Madison Beer. Sometimes a baddie is all you need to elevate your game. All right, Jay Herbo back in business. Chargers getting it done. Keenan played well. Shout out to the 336 legend. Cardinals and the Saints. Well. Saints, you are exactly who we thought you were. All right, you are exactly who you thought you were. Also, prayers for Chris Olave. Once again, I feel like you say this multiple times every single year since he's been drafted. But I'd rather do an absolute hospital ball, and Will Johnson really took out the whole Michigan-Ohio State rivalry on him and popped him. I mean, popped, honestly, is putting it lightly. He tried to decapitate the man. It was a clean hit, though. All right, it was a clean hit, but yeah, Olave, just another hospital ball. He gets knocked out. Marv did score, so good stuff for Ohio State there. Kyler was solid. Had his moments where he was a little shaky, but overall not a bad game. But you know what? The Cardinals were supposed to beat them. They handled business. Saints. You are going to be one of the worst teams this year. The Colts beat the brakes off the Miami Dolphins. I was in disbelief. Even though I picked the Colts to win this game, I was still in disbelief. Daniel Jones played the best first half from a Colts quarterback since Andrew Luck, maybe Peyton Manning. I think statistically speaking, better than Andrew Luck since Peyton Manning. It was that good. It was obscene. Danny Dimes had returned and turned into the reincarnate as soon as he put on that blue jersey. And I'm not talking about the Giants blue. I'm talking about that Indy Colts blue, man. Because he was moving different. Moving different. Now, of course, it helped that Tua CTE apparently has kicked in and he threw 2 interceptions, had a fumble. He was awful in this game. He was god-awful. This was an absolute Tua tag. Tua turnover. It was one of them games. All right. Complete disaster class from Tua. You had Tyreek Cheetah crashing out on the bench. It was horrible. All right. It was absolutely horrible. The Colts were not supposed to be a good team this year. And, I mean, they were cooking. They were simply cooking. Michael Pittman Jr., 6 receptions, 80 yards and a touchdown. He was cooking. Tyler Ward on my fantasy team was cooking, especially in that first quarter. It was a beatdown. Only way to put it. An absolute beatdown from the Colts. Dolphins. Purgatory is calling your name once again. That's all I need to say about that. Raiders take care of the Patriots. Very disappointing, but Geno Smith, once again, is an all-time tank commander. That's all I need to say about that. Drake had a very up-and-down game. Trevion Henderson did not have the game a lot of y'all thought he would. And of the rookie running backs, Genty was the one to get in the box, even though he didn't run for a lot too. But, Brock Bowers, he's that guy. That's all we need to say. Gonzo was gone, though. He did not play this game for the Patriots, so probably need him back. All right, probably need him back, but the Pats still a long way to go. The Steelers and the Jets played maybe a Game of the Year candidate in Week 1. In Week 1. Back and forth we go. Eventually, A-Rod is able to get the go-ahead, but then Calvin Austin takes that was one. Yeah. The throw to Calvin Austin from 18 with 14, beginning of the fourth quarter. Jets get it back down. Jay Fields runs it in. And then we get it back to the Steelers, back and forth. A 60-yarder from Chris Boswell goes in. And that was enough. All right. That was enough for the Steelers to get it done. And A-Rod and Fields went band for band. Similar to how we were talking about those double OTs in the CFB segment, Fields and A-Rod went band for band. Aaron Rodgers said, I'm not the problem. I was not the problem in New York last year. All right. In front of the Jets fans, they're all booing him. He looked like the Aaron Rodgers of old. 22 for 30, 244 and 4 touchdowns for A-Rod in this game. He was great. All right. 4 different receivers caught a touchdown. It was beautiful. All right. Alex Highsmith had a sack in this game. Go Niners. He was cooking him and TJ on that pass rush. But Jay Fields played one of his, if not his best game I think I've seen of him as a pro. 16 for 22, 218 and a touchdown. He also had 48 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns, of course, and more of that net. But, taking into account the sacks, take some of that back. But he was great. He was dynamic. He looked like Ohio State Justin Fields. He looked like what we expected Justin Fields to be. He was finally being used right, it felt to me. It felt like finally seeing him using his athleticism, using his legs, making those throws. It looked like he felt comfortable for the first time, and it was a treat to watch. All right, it was a treat to watch. Even though Aaron Rodgers was being Aaron Rodgers on the opposite sideline, Justin Fields looked like a star quarterback in this game, and that has to give you a lot of optimism if you were a Jets fan. Now, the defense needs to be a lot better. That's the one thing of note. Got to be a lot better, but offensively, you had it. All right, Brees went over 100 yards. Braylon Allen man-child, that 1 touchdown. Garrett Wilson getting absolutely hammered by Jalen Ramsey is going to make you a little bit salty, but G. Will played overall a good game. However, Ramsey, I got to give credits due to win the game. Fields looking like he extends it. Wilson's open, but then you see Ramsey just buried down and just absolutely nails nails Garrett Wilson, which had to be satisfying because they were talking all game. And yeah, that's how the Steelers are able to get it done. Pass rush was there. Will McDonald had 2 sacks. They had 4 as a team. Very promising game for both teams. A-Rod looked like he was back. Jets looked like they have something offensively. A lot of positives in what was one of the best games, if not probably going to be the best game of week 1 here in the NFL. Commanders beat up on the Giants. No surprises here besides the fact that Russell Wilson, we were wondering when Dart was going to take over. It's probably going to be sooner than later if this is what Russ is. Malik Neighbors was crashing out already. But yeah, Commanders do what they were expected to do. The Bengals. All right, Myles Garrett had these boys in hell. But luckily the Browns are in fact still the Cleveland Browns. All right, I was a little worried for a second. Joe Flacco is still not the quarterback. All right, this wasn't good Flacco. This was bad Flacco. Non-elite Flacco. He had 2 picks in this game. But Myles Garrett was a menace. All right, absolute menace. He nearly had 3 sacks on the goal line right there. Nearly got a safety. That was ridiculous. That one possession where he took over. But he was on Burrow the entire game. That Bengals offensive line is still not fixed. Still. And that will always be the limitation on that team. They got to figure something out. I know you're playing Myles. He's one, if not arguably the best defensive player in the league. But you got it. It has to be better. All right. Especially when your defense puts in a performance. Now, of course, they were playing the Browns offense. And that's a gift in itself. But you got to be better. All right, you got to be better. Bengals, however, take it for week 1. All right, you'll take it for week 1. Bucks and the Falcons. Another back and forth game. Comes down to the wire. Koo has a chance to hit and tie it up, and he didn't have it. Rarely do you see that. All right, he is one of the clutchest kickers of his generation, but he misses it right, and the Bucks are able to escape. And first off, I don't know how you give up that touchdown. Even though it was great for my fantasy team, Mecca catching that touchdown, I don't know how you give that up, man. I don't know how you give that up. Very similar to the Mississippi State-Arizona State game where it was, again, a late play on a blown coverage and you give up the TD to lose the game. It was like, how do you let that happen? The one thing in that situation, you're letting them get a field goal, fine, they tie it up. But you cannot let them score a touchdown. I was in disbelief watching it. And Emeka does get it done. He gets 2 touchdowns here in his debut, 4 receptions, 67 yards. Baker was very good. He had 3 touchdowns, 167 only, and not the highest completion percentage, but he was clutch. All right, he was Baker in this game, and you'll take it. Penix in his first real start proper. That's what I'm going to call it. Not his first actual start, but, first proper, week 1, you know what I mean? Was good. All right, he was not the problem here. He did what he had to do to win this game. Showed off some wheels. All right, some of the best running I'm seeing from Penix since he was in Indiana. Not Washington. I'm talking about Indiana Penix. All right, and he almost did the stretch again. So some positive stuff there. Bijan Robinson had that absolute insane touchdown to start this off. But, yeah, you just cannot have that blown coverage at the end and give that up. Bucks still won, which I think will be very pivotal because I think these 2 teams are going to be in contention for winning that NFC South. So, yeah, this game could loom very, very large down the line. But for now, the Bucks hold on and get it done. All right, so we are back, okay? Back after the splits. 4 o'clocks are ended, so you know what time it is. So let's get to it. All right, this game got delayed. All right, it did get delayed. The Jaguars and the Panthers. I almost said it in a British accent. But, yeah, we had some, all that talk about the Panthers' offense getting better. It did happen in this game, at least. Did happen in this game. We got the bad Bryce Young in this game. I'll be honest with you. He had a very unremarkable performance. Now, however, his protection wasn't great in this game, but 2 picks. It just wasn't good. I'm not going to say and lie to you. Bryce wasn't good. T-Law was okay. But yeah, Jaguars defense was the most impressive thing, honestly, in my opinion, about this entire affair. All right, that I think both teams are going to want to move past very, very, very quickly from the offensive side of the ball. But the Jaguars do get the win here, 26-10, and get that sweet week 1 win. Let's talk about the 4 o'clocks, though. All right, first up, 49ers and Seahawks. They are slandering Brock Purdy's name, and I can't really defend him. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't really defend him. Okay, now, no Debo anymore. He's a commander. Okay, Ayuk is injured. A lot of stuff going on. Still Kittle there, but, a lot of stuff going on with the 49ers in terms of injuries, which it feels like that has been their stasis for the past 2.5 years. So, could Brock Purdy step up? And the answer was absolutely not. Okay? Absolutely not. However, when it mattered on that last drive, he did engineer what had to be done. So, as much as I was prepared watching this game to come and rag on Brock Purdy, I'm not going to do that but so much. Okay, he had 2 interceptions. He didn't play a great game. But, like I said, when it mattered, he showed up. All right, and Mr. Jake Tongs. Jake Tongs, I want to say that? Yeah. Jake Tongs saved his life. Because it was almost 3 picks. But Tongs makes a huge reception. A huge reception to give the 49ers the lead. That was after Ricky Pearsall absolutely torched Tariq Woolen. I don't know what Woolen was looking at on that play, but Pearsall stepped up big time, by the way, in this game. He had 108 yards on 4 receptions. But, yeah, Woolen gets cooked there, sets it up. Tongs just snatches it away from the defender, gives the 49ers the lead. And then Nick Bosa shows why he makes $35 million a year on the next possession. Seahawks drive down the field, but then he shuts that down, gets the strip sack. 49ers get out of here. All right, and I'm going to be honest. It was Bosa, it was Warner, it was the classics on that defensive side of the ball that got it done, held Sam Darnold in check. There was going to be no great dominant game here. JSN did his thing, but, that was about it. All right, that was about it, respectfully, for the Seahawks. Too many missed opportunities, but credit, like I said, to the 49ers for getting it done. Purdy's got to play better, though. All right, Purdy's got to play better. I was shocked to see him CMC suit up with all the injury and the calf stuff. But, yeah, glad he made it out of this game healthy. We'll see what happens, after this and how serious that really was. Because, after what we saw with Holly earlier in the year, I'm a little worried about those. But nonetheless, 49ers get out of week 1 and go into Seattle with the W. Titans Broncos. More horrible, no good quarterback play. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if you expected 4 o'clocks to be like the Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers game. None of this. This was like the antithesis. Cam Ward, I can't even say had a bad game. He showed some flashes, but the Broncos defense, which is my fantasy defense, was on the man like white on rice. On that man like white on rice. He got sacked 6 times, but he got hurried probably closer to 20. Okay, he was in constant danger. Constant. There was no chance for Cam to get comfortable in this game. And again, credit where credit's due, as I always say, to the Broncos defense. But Titans offensive line got to step up. All right, you got to play better than you did because this was brutal. All right, this was absolutely brutal when you're a young quarterback. And a game that you had a chance to win because of what we're going to talk about with Bo Nix, you weren't able to take advantage of. So something to think about there for the Titans. Not that they're expected to be any really, that good this year, but nonetheless, something to talk about. The Broncos, however, dark horse pick for a lot of people here in the AFC, and they didn't look the part. That Bo Nix Rookie of the Year stuff where everybody's like, oh yeah, Bo's now a franchise quarterback, that looked like a mirage. At least in this game. We'll see what happens, but it looked like a mirage in this game. He had 2 interceptions. He went 25 for 40 in this game, under 200 yards. He also lost the fumbles. That's 3 turnovers. He was not good. Not good at all. Not really anything redeemable about his performance. You just got to hope that this was, rust, and you can wipe it away. Because otherwise, it was no good. Absolutely no good. And you cannot have that if you want to be a dark horse. So we'll see what happens with Nix. But for now, that Broncos defense is in fact the truth. However, they did just play the Titans. So we'll see, but at least it looks like they got something there. The Lions, they were oh so good before injuries last year. How would they do in year 1 or, this year 2 of them being, back to contender? Unfortunately, because the schedules decided to pick all of these rivalry games here in Game 1 for ratings, you had to play the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau, and that's always going to be a tricky one. The Packers do get it done here, 27-13. Pretty routine. I'm going to be honest with you. Pretty routine. Goff was efficient, but that interception was very, very costly. Love was efficient as well. 16 for 22, 188 and 2 touchdowns. Jacobs also got in the box. Rashawn Gary had 2 sacks. I don't know why I forgot that for a second. But yeah, Gary did what he had to do. And yeah, pretty routine. All right, I'm not even going to highlight it. All right, even though these are 2 probably one of the better teams in the NFC, not even going to highlight it. Pretty routine. Gary shows up big time here on the pass rush. But Packers get it done. All right, they were at home. What'd you expect? All right, what'd you expect? And we conclude here with Rams and Texans. Again, not great quarterback play. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. Not great quarterback play. I can't help it. Stroud is still not CJ Stroud from his rookie year. Okay? Still not that guy. Don't know what to tell you. I tried to tell y'all back in college, he got a little bit better. I became a little bit of a believer during his rookie year, but rookie years can sometimes be mirages. It might be a mirage. He might just be okay. He might just be okay. We'll have to see, though. It's only game one, but yeah, not a great performance to start the season on. Stafford was just a little bit better, but again, another big-time defensive battle. Curl was tackling everything with a pulse. I feel like every time they cut to the game on red zone, he was making a play on the Texans. He had led the Rams, by the way, with 8 solo tackles. He had 10 tackles total in this game, but I would be amiss. Even though offensively they only scored 14 points. I would be amiss, all right, if I did not talk about Puka, all right? Firmly the number one with Cooper Kupp no longer there. 10 receptions, 130. Back on his BS. Back to what we know and love from Puka. He looked good. All right, he looked really, really good. He will be that top target for Stafford. So you fantasy owners and pick Puka. You got your wide receiver one back. We'll see what happens, though, for now. All right, but yeah. Tough win. Texans had a chance at the end. Couldn't take advantage. Rams defense showed up big time. That was the story of the 4 o'clocks. All right, it was defenses showing up. Quarterbacks not really performing. You get the gist. All right. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the roundup. We have reached the roundup. Let's talk racing. Monza. All right, I almost broke out the Monza shirt for this. But yeah, Max is back. He's back on his BS. He's back doing Max Verstappen things. They're singing his song in Italy. He's on top. It was a very interesting contrast because I firmly remember when he won a couple years ago, Max got booed, and I think Lando was also on podium, and Lando got cheered. It was the opposite. Lando has now become the villain, and Max is the hero. Funny how things change in just seasons. Just a season. But Max, yeah, this was one of those races that's like, yeah, this is the best driver on the planet. It was one of those. All right. McLaren had a step down in terms of performance this week. Red Bull, it just came down to Max is Max. In qualifying to take pole, Max was Max. In this race, Max was Max. All right, he is the best in the world at what he does. And yeah, he gets a win. He was elated. Honestly, he was elated. The announcers, Crawford, was like, he needed this. You could tell. All right, you could tell. Lando does get second after McLaren switch after a botched pit stop. Though Oscar had some mixed feelings about that, I think he handled that as well as he could. Still played the team game, but was very firm. And it was a little bit of a prick moment. But also, I just found Max's reaction to it kind of felt like a prick. And it is a saying that to be an F1 champion, you gotta be a little bit of a prick. You gotta be a little bit of an asshole. You gotta be. All right, you gotta be firm. So I think that was still a good sign from Oscar, even though he did do the right thing and played the team game. I know a lot of people have mixed kind of feelings about that. I feel like it was the right move. It was kind of out of Lando's control, but what happened if it was a Lando era and then they switched him, that would have been something different. But it was a team era, so it was fair to give Lando that spot back, even though I understand tensions are high with them fighting for the championship. But yeah, that was Monza. Very exciting opening laps, even in midfield with the Ferraris running through, Kimi subplot. It was very, very fun. Misery for Aston Martin, by the way. Absolute misery. All right, they had like the horrid nightmare subplot, like Damon Targaryen and Harrenhal subplot for Aston Martin this weekend. But yeah, for everything else, it was honestly a good race. All right, good little scrap in Monza. Quickest race, by the way, ever. Fastest race in F1 history. NASCAR. Denny Hamlin is off to the next round. He won at WTT today. So, congrats to Denny. Moving on. But yeah, we're going to talk about the Colin Zilisch show. Okay? He won again. It's ridiculous. That's nine wins. I have no words. I have no words. This is ridiculous. I've never personally seen anything like his dominance right now at 19 in the Xfinity Series. It's ridiculous. He is dominating. He's won 4 in a row. His average finish since he came back is 1.73. Boy, I don't know I forget what the record is for wins in an Xfinity Series. I think Darrell Waltrip has it from like way back when. But yeah, that's in danger. All right, that is in danger. Colin Zilisch is still on a different planet. He wins yet again. And to end us off here, ladies and gentlemen, It is Canelo versus Bud week. Finally. And official prediction, I got Canelo by decision. All right. I think Canelo is going to outlast Bud. I think it's just going up 2 weight classes. I know Bud looks good. He's in great condition. He's Terrence Bud Crawford. He's one of the best boxers of his generation, one of the greatest boxers of all time. If we wouldn't just give him that already, he's an all-time great. All right, he is. But it's just going up in that weight. It's Canelo's natural weight, even though Canelo's not, prime Canelo. I don't know if Bud is prime Bud anymore. So that kind of balances itself out, and I just think, I really don't know how his strength and his power is going to translate, and then getting hit at that weight is something else you got to think about. So we will see. I'm not ruling Bud out. He could pull this off, and I think that really cements him himself as one of the greatest boxers of all time. If he knocks off Canelo here and becomes undisputed. But, if I had to pick, I'm picking Cinnamon. All right, I got Canelo. Feel free to leave your, own prediction in the comments or wherever I post this. But that's what we got. But we'll talk about that for episode 267. For episode 266, we are done. Football is back, and I am a happy man. But without further ado, Ocho signing off.